If you are new to that channel, then subscribe and like before moving up in the video.
Have you ever walked away from conversation, feeling strangely guilty, even though you did absolutely nothing wrong? Maybe you shared some good news, a promotion, a new car, a business idea, or even something as simple as buying yourself a nice pair of shoes. Instead of feeling happy, you suddenly found yourself explaining, justifying, or even apologizing for your own success. Why? Because some people don't attack your achievements directly. That would be too obvious. Instead, they ask questions. Questions that sound innocent. Questions that sound caring. Questions that almost make you feel rude for questioning their intentions. But beneath those questions, there's something much darker happening. They're not looking for answers. They're looking for control. They're looking for a way to steal your excitement, plant doubt inside your mind, and make you shrink yourself without ever raising their voice. And here's the scary part. Most people never notice it. They think, maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe they were just curious. Maybe they didn't mean it like that. Sometimes, that's true. But truly jealous people rely on that uncertainty. Because if you never recognize the pattern, you'll keep handing them your confidence, one conversation at a time. Today, I'm going to show you the 5 questions jealous people use again and again. Not because the words themselves are dangerous, but because of the psychology hiding behind them. And once you understand the psychology, those questions lose all their power. By the end of this video, you'll never hear them the same way again. Let's begin with the first one. And honestly, it's probably the most common. Question 1. How did you afford that? Picture this. You've been working hard for months. Long hours, extra effort, late nights. Finally, you decide to reward yourself. Maybe it's a new phone, a better laptop, a watch you've wanted for years. Or maybe it's simply your dream vacation. You're excited. You earned this moment. Then someone looks at you, smiles, and asks, "Wow, how did you afford that?" Seems harmless, doesn't it? But notice what didn't happen. They didn't say, "Congratulations." They didn't ask, "How does it feel?" They didn't celebrate your achievement. Instead, they skipped your success and went straight to your wallet. Why? Because jealousy rarely attacks the achievement. It attacks the legitimacy of the achievement. The hidden message sounds like this. You probably shouldn't have this. Maybe someone helped you. Maybe you got lucky. Maybe you don't actually deserve it. And the moment you start explaining, you've already stepped into the trap. Well, actually it was on sale. I saved for months. It's not that expensive. Without realizing it, you're defending something that never needed defending. Think about that. Why should happiness require permission? Why should success require an explanation? It shouldn't. Here's what confident people understand. Not every question deserves a detailed answer. Sometimes, less is more. Smile and simply say, "I work for it." That's it. No long speech. No financial breakdown. No apology. Because your hard work isn't a debate. It's a fact. Jealous people investigate it. And that difference tells you everything. But believe it or not, that isn't the most damaging question. The next one is far more dangerous. Because it doesn't attack your money. It attacks your courage. And if you aren't careful, it can stop you from chasing your biggest dreams before they even begin. Question 2. Are you sure that's a good idea? Imagine this. You spent weeks, maybe even months, thinking about your next move. You've done the research. You've taken the risks into account. And for the first time in a long time, you actually feel excited. Maybe you're starting a business. Maybe you're changing careers, moving to another city, launching a YouTube channel, or simply deciding to live life on your own terms. You finally tell someone, and they pause, tilt their head, and ask, "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Now, on its own, that's not a bad question. Sometimes the people who love us ask difficult questions because they genuinely care. But here's the difference. People who care ask questions to understand. Ask questions to create doubt. Watch what happens after they ask. Do they help you solve the problem? Do they encourage you? Do they offer advice? Or do they simply leave you alone, with fear growing inside your head? That's the trick. They don't have to stop you. They just need you to stop yourself. Because once doubt enters your mind, you become your own biggest obstacle. Suddenly you're thinking, maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I should wait another year. Maybe everyone else is right. And before you know it, your dream quietly dies without anyone having to fight you. Jealous people understand something most people don't. Fear spreads faster than confidence. One sentence can erase weeks of motivation. Here's something successful people learn early. Every meaningful decision feels uncomfortable. Every major opportunity comes with uncertainty. If you wait until you're completely fearless, you'll spend your whole life waiting. Will this definitely work? They ask. Will I regret never trying? The next time someone tries to plant fear inside your mind, don't argue. Don't start defending your dream. Simply smile and say, I've thought it through and I'm ready. Then keep moving. Because confidence isn't convincing everyone else. Confidence is trusting yourself, even when nobody else does. But believe me, the third question is even more personal, because it doesn't attack your decisions. It attacks who you're becoming. And for many people, that's the hardest attack to ignore. Question 3. You've changed. This question sounds harmless. Sometimes, it even sounds like a compliment. Other times, it feels like criticism. But almost every successful person hears it eventually. You're not the same anymore. What happened to the old you? At first, those words hurt, because nobody wants to become arrogant. Nobody wants to lose the people they care about. So your first instinct is to explain yourself. No, I'm still the same person. I'm just busy. I haven't changed. But stop for a second. Ask yourself something. What exactly changed? Did you become rude? Or did you simply stop accepting disrespect? Did you become selfish? Or did you finally learn how to say no? Did you become cold? Or did you stop chasing people who never valued you? See, growth often looks like rejection to the people who benefited from the old version of you. The version that always said yes. The version that apologized too much. The version that stayed quiet. That version was comfortable for everyone except you. Now you've started setting boundaries. You become more confident. You protect your peace. And suddenly, people accuse you of changing. Maybe you have changed, but not in the way they mean. You've changed because you've grown. And growth always makes insecure people uncomfortable. Because every time they look at you, they're reminded of the changes they never made themselves. So instead of celebrating your progress, they try to make you feel guilty for it. Don't fall for it. You don't owe anyone the old version of yourself. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to become stronger. You're allowed to outgrow places. Habits. If someone says, you've changed, simply smile and answer, I hope so. That's the point. Because staying the same forever isn't loyalty. It's fear. And speaking of fear, the next question is one almost everyone has heard at least once. It sounds like a joke, but it quietly teaches people to feel ashamed for being successful. And once you notice it, you'll hear it everywhere. Question 4. Don't you think that's a bit too much? Picture this. You finally start believing in yourself. You dress better. You speak with confidence. You celebrate your achievements. Maybe you post a picture from your vacation, buy something you've always wanted, or simply start enjoying the life you've worked hard to build. Then someone smiles and says, don't you think that's a bit too much? Or, you're showing off a little, aren't you? At first, it sounds like harmless teasing. But listen carefully. They're not commenting on your behavior. They're reacting to how your confidence makes them feel. Because confidence has a strange effect on insecure people. It reminds them of everything they're too afraid to become. Think about it. Someone tells you you're seeking attention. The moment you stop apologizing, someone calls you arrogant. The moment you finally enjoy your success, someone says you've changed. Notice the pattern? No matter what you do, your confidence becomes the problem. But here's the truth. People who are genuinely happy for you never ask you to make yourself smaller. They don't tell you to dim your light. They don't expect you to hide your wins, just so they can feel comfortable. Only insecure people benefit when confident people become invisible. That's why they use shame. Because shame is powerful. It convinces successful people to hide their success, to hide their talent. It convinces kind people to stop shining. Don't let it. The next time someone says, "Isn't that a little too much?" smile and calmly reply, "I'm simply enjoying what I've worked for. Nothing more, nothing less." Never apologize for becoming the person you dreamed of being. Because if your happiness makes someone uncomfortable, the problem isn't your happiness. It's their insecurity. But believe it or not, the final question is even more revealing. Because it doesn't attack your confidence. It attacks your ability. And once you understand why jealous people ask it, you'll never answer it the same way again. Question 5. Did someone help you? Imagine you've just achieved something incredible. Maybe you got promoted. Your business starts growing. Your YouTube channel finally takes off. You finish a difficult project. Or you accomplish something you've spent years chasing. People congratulate you. Most of them are genuinely happy. But then, someone says, "Wow, who helped you?" Now, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging help. Nobody succeeds completely alone. Mentors matter. Teachers matter. Family matters. But pay attention to the timing. Before recognizing your hard work, they're already searching for another explanation. Because accepting your success, that maybe you simply worked harder, stayed more disciplined, or refused to quit. And that's difficult for jealous people to accept. So instead, they look for luck, connections, money, privilege, anything except your effort. It's easier for them to believe someone handed you success than to believe you earned it. Because if you earned it, then maybe they could too. And that's a truth they don't want to face. Here's the beautiful thing about real confidence. It doesn't argue. It doesn't prove. It simply owns the work. Who helped you? You can simply smile and say, "I had support along the way, but I put in the work." That's confidence, not arrogance, just ownership. Never let someone rewrite your story, because they weren't there to watch the chapters you struggled through. They didn't see the late nights, the failures, the sacrifices, the moments you wanted to quit. You lived those moments, not them. Conclusion. Here's something I hope you remember long after this video ends. Jealous people rarely attack with anger. They attack with questions. Questions designed to make you explain yourself, question yourself, or shrink yourself. The next time someone asks, "How did you afford that?" ask yourself, "Are they celebrating me or investigating me?" When someone says, "Are you sure that's a good idea?" ask yourself, "Are they offering wisdom or projecting fear?" When someone tells you, "You've changed," ask yourself, "Did I become worse? Or did I simply become stronger?" When someone says, "You're doing too much," remember, you were never too much. You just stopped being less than you are. And when someone tries to give your success to luck or someone else, remember every late night, every failure, that brought you here. Because your success doesn't need everyone's approval. It only needs your consistency. The people who truly love you will celebrate your growth. The people who secretly envy you will question it. Learn the difference. It'll save you years of unnecessary self-doubt. If this video made you see people a little differently, leave a comment below. Which of these 5 questions have you heard the most? And if you want more videos on human psychology, manipulation, confidence, and emotional intelligence, make sure you subscribe. Because once you understand how people really think, they become much harder to manipulate and much easier to understand. I'll see you in the next video.